putting shit on Democrats every day. Yeah, she has a little eating with their bonding every day. She goes immediately acquiescing every day. But there is a world where if the bill to pass this files at the House and Senate by a big enough margin to overcome the inevitable presidential veto, that Donald Trump's last-ditch effort here might be to say, look, definitely, totally love to release the files in accordance with that legislation, but you know, if you're going to release any information on what we want to do. And they receive that from the Thursday, and having some of it be off. And many other Democrats are going to as long as it's which is to say, forever. So, a few points here. First, I'm pretty sure that if Bill Clinton or Reid Hoffman was implicated, that Pam Bondi's Department of Justice would not have sat on it for 10 months. Second, even Reid Hoffman himself came out and called for the full release of the file. So if he was really implicated, that wouldn't be a great strategy to follow. Third, if any Democrat Next up, my interviews with Bernie Sanders, Jamie Raskin, Ro Khanna, and John Hall. No Lies brought to you by Factor. We're now in the fall season. Reset, there's a lot happening right now. School, and shorter days on top of all of that, which means finding time to actually cook and stuff. That's why I love Factor. Their chef prepared diet make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. The reality is that with Factor, with more variety in your meals, you can choose from a wider selection of meal options each week. You can see the options like salmon shrimp, which come at no extra cost. Factor also comes with some free bonus. Right now, you can enjoy 50 more GLP-1 friendly meals, and you can get Israeli diet options that are packed with protein and good food fats. And you can enjoy global flavors. First time, you have Asian inspired global flavors for influenced by China, Thailand, and India. Factor has more choices and better nutrition, which is why 97% of customers say that Factor helps build a healthier lifestyle. You can feel the difference no matter your routine. The reality is that somebody like me, if I need to go out and pick up my needs from Factor, make sure I do it. Because if I didn't have Factor, those options give a lot more meals than I do right now. And the most important thing is that what I eat tastes good, good, very careful about my body, Factor, you can eat smart at factorfood.com and use code BTC50 off to get 50% off the first box, plus free breakfast for a year. That's code BTC50 off at factorfood.com for 50% off the first box, plus free breakfast for a year. You get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for Factor customers, approved and qualified auto renewal subscription purchase. No Lies brought to you by Shopify. So when I started this podcast, it seemed like I kind of had to figure everything out on my own. I had to figure out scripts, setup, moving, logos, all of which was very overwhelming. And every single day, there's a new decision that you make and you need an answer. Finding the right tool will not only you, but simplifies everything is such a game changer. And for millions of businesses, that tool Shopify is a commerce platform employing millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all of the commerce platforms. That's household names like Mattel, Gymshark, brands just getting started, including my own website, growingslowpoke.com. For you, you can start with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use studios. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. You can accelerate your content creation. Shopify's packed with helpful AI tools that make product descriptions, page headlines, and include tips on photography. You can get the word out when you have a full marketing team. You can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from inventory to international shipping, processing, and services. If you're ready to sell, you are ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify website. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/BTC. Go to shopify.com/BTC. Shopify.com/BTC. No Lie is brought to you by Pokémon. So why are elite athletes, business moguls, and high performers all using Armor Colostrum? Armor Colostrum is your first full food with over 400 bioactive nutrients working at the cellular level to build lean muscle, accelerate recovery, and fuel performance, all without artificial stimulants or synthetic sugar. So when you're running a business or training hard or just running ahead, Armor optimizes your body's metabolism. Probiotics and other supplements are often probiotics, but the reality is that most products in the market are regularly but Armor Colostrum naturally fortifies your entire gut wall system and optimizes your whole body microbiome, which helps guard against irritants that create digestive issues that can compromise your immune system. Research has shown that colostrum also helps enhance nutrient absorption. So let Armor Colostrum help you reach your goals that promote new muscle building and even better performance and faster recovery. Colostrum bioactives have shown to reactivate hair follicle stem cells and activate collagen production, which promotes hair growth and enhances skin radiance. We've worked out a special offer just for the audience. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armor.com/BTC to get 30% off your first subscription order. That's ARMRA.com/BTC. I'm joined now by Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So, Senator, we're speaking in the aftermath of a deal being struck between 8 Democrats and the Republican conference here in the Senate to basically reopen the government. You know, a lot of us were hoping that the Democrats would stay united and not eventually to Republicans without any assurances on Affordable Care Act subsidies. Can you give a little insight into what went on behind the scenes that led to this moment?
Well, there have been for weeks and weeks a number of Democrats who, for a variety of reasons, I think interestingly, they thought that Trump was just too strong. The Republicans were not going to yield. They thought of the assumption that Trump can't be defeated when you look around and you see federal employees not getting paid, Trump illegally withholding staff funds, kids going hungry. They say, look, what's the work? Well, I'm going to win this thing. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting anybody. That's why I'm just for it. They thought it was a hopeless effort, and they kind of pulled it. Needless to say, I have a different, radically different approach. I think that Trump and his friends, while they may be more crazy and a pathological liar, he is not stupid and he's a good politician. We saw what happened on Tuesday night. He obsessively reads polls. He knows that the American people are holding his administration and the Republicans accountable for the shutdown. They are on the defensive. We already have 15 Republicans in the Senate to fly Trump and say release the stock funds. People in the House are saying, you know what? You gotta make sure that the ACA premiums do not get doubled. Okay, you gotta extend the benefits for 100 years. So I think that if we had held firm, it would be the Republicans who would yield. That was my position these days.
And it feels like exactly that. The reality is that we even saw Trump on election night tweet that it was the result of the fact that he was on the ballot and the shutdown that resulted in this. We know that 2-1 independents were blaming Trump for the shutdown. The overwhelming majority of Americans were blaming Trump for the shutdown. And so how did these 8 Democrats who were affected not see that the pressure was weighing on Trump? We don't know where they were litigating on Twitter think that despite all of that, despite the intense election result on Tuesday, that the answer here was for Democrats.
Well, you know, Brian, you're asking me how people think that other people have as well. I think all that I can say is that not only that, they look at the world very differently than the world. When they look at it and saying, you can't look at this. This is wrong, this is powerful, it's not good. So, not have people not dedicated. That's their view. I think needless to say, those words, the terrific vote, a terrific setback, not only to the fact that we're not going to see the rest of somehow suffer, even ACA premium double, some cases triple, the millions of Americans. Not only that we have paved the way for 15 million people to lose their health care by cuts in Medicaid, which is just an absolute disaster, but maybe more importantly, the message that came out last night is that some of them, I remember, 47 people in the office papers, one night, that, all over the country, they stand up, fight. Don't change right. 7 million people come out. And last night was a setback for other people there. Democrats and Senate and fight.
So how does that make you think about the wave of Democrats, the class of Democrats in the campaign right now? I was looking at the responses on social media, and both candidates in Maine, all three candidates in Michigan, Minnesota, both candidates in Minnesota, like all across the country, there was scorn for what had happened.
What about the candidate in New Hampshire? Jean's own daughter.
Yeah, I actually had to see that.
Yeah, her own daughter who's running for Congress. Disagree with her daughter.
Yeah. And so how does that make you think about this next class of Democrats in terms of filling the void that we're very clearly seeing right now in the hands of Democrats who don't recognize this vote?
Look, the Democratic leadership is way out of touch with where the Democratic basis and where the American people are at. That's why I am working as hard as I can to elect a whole new crop of senators and members of the House. We've had good luck in the past in the House, not so much in the Senate. But right now we have at least 3 candidates in Minnesota, maybe Flanagan, up to outside in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, in Maine, all of them. If elected in the Senate, in the Congress, he's prepared to take on the oligarchs, he's prepared to fight for Medicare for all, he's prepared to demand that the poor get and their fair share of taxes, etc. So that's the kind of change that we need, and that's what I'm fighting for.
In terms of the ACA specifically, one of, I guess, the concession that was made by some is that there would be a vote on the ACA. But this vote, because it's regular order, it's not something that would pass through reconciliation, it's not something that where the filibuster wouldn't apply, that would need 60 votes to pass out of the Senate. Democrats have 43 members, or 47 members, which means that we need 13 to pass. Do you have any confidence in
These are fall down several stairs. No.
I don't think 13. It doesn't matter. Even if by some miracle you got 60 votes, where do you think that number would go? Even Johnson is really very clear that he's not going to entertain it. Trump was never fired. So it was an empty gesture, and that's why. It bothers me that people want to raise false hopes. Oh, we're going to bring forth an amendment. That amendment ain't going to go anyplace. Period. End of discussion.
In terms of finding some silver lining on that point, is there some consolation in the fact that now that amendment will go up, we're basically a clean vote for who we're able to see exactly where the Republicans stand on either extending or refusing to extend the ACA subsidies, which are complete messaging perspective that there is a clear supporting this stuff and who's opposed to it.
Well, the answer is when you confirm the vote, the answer is yes or no. Right? And that is, yeah. Well, I think most Americans would probably just already know it's the find a way. In a few hours, I think in an hour or so. And one Republican or one person. You're going to have a very similar vote literally within an hour.
And so what would your message be to folks around the country, who have endured the whiplash of, on one hand, seeing the election results that we saw this past Tuesday, and yet watching what happened this week in terms of the Democrats, those 8 Democrats came into the Republicans?
Weighing the two, the election in the case of the Democrats, the election is fought by look, the Democratic establishment in my view is many solid Democrats, hopefully out of touch. And I would say that even if you look at the states that these guys come from, Maine and Hampshire, the candidates who are running right now, who are in touch with voters every single day, trying to get elected, they are saying this was a sellout. But what I think we should not underestimate is we just had an election on Tuesday. And all over the country, and it was really quite extraordinary. Much more positive than I think any of us anticipated. In small towns, or in New Jersey, small towns in Connecticut, I'm sorry, in California, in New York City, in Virginia, in New Jersey, all over the country, small towns, large cities, states, people said no to autism big time. Okay, young people began to come out and express their views. So what we have got to do is go above and beyond what happened yesterday, that terrible vote, and understand that yes, there are parts of the Democratic establishment who are way, way out of touch with where the American people are, or where we have got to go. And our job is to build a political movement. We are doing it with the 2 candidates to the Senate. I expect more to come, with many candidates in the House, candidates all over the country running for local office. We're going to build that movement, grassroots movement, to do it from Donnie Green to New York City, all over this country, and create a government that works for everybody, not just the billionaire class.
Last question, Senator Sanders. We were in this situation where we were contending with the prospect of 42 million Americans losing their food assistance and 24 million Americans watching their health care premiums double, triple, quadruple, or more because Republicans decided to pit the sick against the hungry as a way to negotiate their way through the shutdown. And so, what does it say that those were the hospitals that the party of family values and approaches to family party decided to hit the sick against the hungry as a way to get out of the shutdown?
It is disgusting. It is disgusting. And in terms of staff, the idea that a president of the U.S., as you know, Congress had appropriated over $5 billion, very specifically, explicitly, in case there's a government shutdown, those have to money here's over $5 billion. And Trump acts illegally, only illegally. One day he says he's stopping, and the next day he's overtold that he goes to the courts. The idea that you have a president of the United States, a leader of this country, is willing to see children go hungry is despicable. Is despicable. And again, I think people, Republicans are on SNAP programs. The kids are on, they see it. And, I think that is one of the reasons why Democrats get so low on this. They got to keep up the fight.
Thank you, as always, for the moral clarity of this one.
Thank you very much.
I'm joined now by Congressman Jamie Raskin. Thanks for joining me.
I'm delighted to be with you, Ryan.
So first and foremost, you have some news that you want to break, but before we jump into that, we have other breaking news, and that is that there's a big trove of emails tying Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. Can I have your reaction to that news from emails that were released from the Epstein estate to the oversight?
Yeah, our oversight Democratic Congress released out this morning with email mentioned by Jeffrey Epstein that Trump clearly knew what was going on. He was both dark and dark, had a still meaning of what to do. In the government, that he spent several hours long report after presumably, one of the girls caught up in the So I prefer what I think everything is pretty much Democrat obviously knew about everything that's going on. And he was best friends for more than a decade. So simply it's not credible. I think he was aware of all that.
How does this make you think about Mike Johnson's not just willingness, but eagerness to keep the house closed for so long?